Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My district is home to the Port of Los Angeles and the community of San Pedro, which were once home to a healthy commercial fishing and canning industry. In fact, my grandmother used to work at one of these canneries on the docks. At its height during the 1950s, Los Angeles Harbor was home to 16 canning operations that accounted for 80% of all canned tuna produced in the United States at the time. They employed 5,000 people with payrolls of $15 million. Unfortunately, by the early 1970s, foreign fleets were consistently outcompeting San Pedro fishermen, pushing our fishing and canning operations to the brink of collapse. The first large cannery to shut down did so in 1984, with others following suit not long after. As we all know, the original goal of the Magnuson-Stevens Act was to protect domestic waters from foreign fishing. Through its initial passage in 1976 and subsequent reauthorizations, we have been able to craft a fisheries management strategy that is flexible and based in sound science. The MSA is unique among natural resource laws in that best practices are crafted by fishermen and other stakeholders to deal with specific regional challenges. While some of my colleagues may feel otherwise, management measures like biomass-based catch limits are indeed working. Under the MSA, overfishing is at an all-time low at 41 fish stocks have been rebuilt to healthy levels. However, work still remains. Nationwide, 30 commercially and recreationally important fish populations are still subject to overfishing, and 38 stocks remain overfished. In order to ensure that fish stocks remain plentiful enough for fisheries in Southern California and beyond, it's imperative that we reauthorize the MSA in a way that allows us to build upon the significant progress towards sustainability that we've made in the past 40 years. My first question is for you, Mr. Martins. Do you agree that precautionary management of forage fish is important to the health of fisheries? And do you think the Magnuson-Stevens Act should be updated to reflect that?
Thank you for the question. The forage space is extremely important to rebuilding any fish stocks. It's a foundation of the ecosystem. And in Maine, we actually had a very robust canning fishery for a long time for sardines and herring that has since disappeared, in part because of the lack of forage that we've seen take place over a period of time. And so we are struggling to rebuild groundfish stocks in New England right now, and part of the reason that many fishermen think that is because there's not enough forage base out there to make sure that we are adequately allowing them to go out and grow and eat enough. When we're looking at Magnuson, we want to make sure that forage continues to be an important piece of it. And if we can highlight the importance of that even further, I think that we should. Without stuff to eat, those fish are not going to grow, they're not going to get bigger, and we're not going to be able to go out and catch them.
Right, thank you. Mr. Oliver, NOAA Fisheries recently issued a final rule developed by the Mid-Atlantic Council to limit fishing on about 50 species of previously unmanaged forage fish. The Council Coordinating Committee has also adopted a policy position representative of this action. Fishing should be prohibited on unmanaged forage fish until baseline science regarding the role in the ecosystem and the potential impacts of fishing them are better understood. Do you think this should serve as a model for managers across the country?
Thank you for that question. As a former member of the Council Coordination Committee and a longtime executive director of the North Pacific, we in the North Pacific many years ago, at least 15 years ago, as part of our overall, a very critical part of our ecosystem approach to management, prohibited fishing on forage fish species as a prime component of that. I do agree with you that that is an important
Okay,
tenets.
and I only have just a second left. Do you think your agency should be encouraging precautionary management of forage fish? Yes or no?
Yes.
Thank you. I yield back.